The specialists, Phil and Blake, are back, and today we are recapping episode number 11 of season 2 of Deal or No Deal Island. Blake may or may not smile this episode. His beloved God, the doctor, Dr. Will, spoke on our TV screen. He was there. He threw a plank of wood into the bay. That had to have made Blake happy. He got to see Dr. Will force David to admit that he won Australian Survivor. Dr. Will, just in general, was Dr. Will. He was kind of a dick to CK. Blake, how's your heart beating? Is it beating like really, really loud and hard in your chest? How you doing?
You just can't keep his name out of your mouth. You know, he's just ever present, rent free. You know, I wish I was Dr. Will so I could get my rent payments for free or whatever. No, it was great. It was great. It's we're gonna be hypocritical. We're gonna be some people are gonna score touchdowns today, and some people are gonna miss field goals. And I think based on perception and where they've come from or whatever, but I thought it was a very interesting way to. Maybe you've seen other shows like Survivor or Big Brother that have
I've never seen
have a jury. Maybe you've seen some other shows where they bring back people at the end to give people plus or minuses to mess with their stuff. And this was Deal or No Deal's version of that. Of what if we had the last 6 eliminated, which is a interesting arbitrary number because it could have been more, it could have been less, or it could have been the last 3 because there was 3 stations. I thought it was a very this is the final excursion, I'm assuming. I don't think there's going to be another physical challenge because of what they told us. So this is the grand finale physical challenge. And once again, it's on a dock and you're like, okay, this is interesting. Of like I'm used to a grander scale of stuff that feels like high stakes. And if someone had lost by 3 seconds on this, it's literally like, were you too pleasant and you're in like, hello everybody, how's it going? Let's get a hug in. And you're like, we gotta go, bro.
Here's my thing. I thought this challenge was tremendous compared to what was there last year.
Right.
I thought this was a massive improvement. My biggest complaint with this challenge was the monkey fist, because the monkey fist is such a random element of this game, like putting a puzzle together, whatever, having to have somebody help you fill the water, whatever. But when they randomly select those people, if you end up with somebody who can't throw a monkey fist, which Seychelles couldn't and Parvati couldn't, and you're not as good as David, you could literally be throwing that monkey fist for 12 minutes, 13 minutes, 14 minutes. Like we have watched, right. I have watched Survivor seasons where people just keep throwing the monkey fist and thankfully somebody else just wins the challenge so that they can be done throwing it. It's not easy to do, to land it in that area. So I thought that was interesting, but I have to compliment Deal or No Deal Island for this because I thought this was a phenomenal way to really reward or punish people based on how they treated people throughout the game. And it turns this now into a little bit more of a strategy game. And I appreciate that a lot because I talked about how last season, the finale was you're going to run through a big maze. There's 4 of you running through the maze. And then whoever gets out of the maze last is eliminated. And then whoever's the lowest case is eliminated. And then you guys are going to run across this thing and a rope that's high in the sky. And you have to get to the middle case, and the last one to the case is eliminated. There's no strategy to that. All that there is in that is physical, physical, physical. Jordan, who ends up winning last season, she has no repercussions for how she played the game, which was not really that well. And so I enjoyed watching this because you bring back 6 people. I thought the dynamic of one person's going to know the values in the case, the other person there doesn't. And then the other person can either help you or not help you with your portion of the challenge. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was a good element to add to the game because you have just pissed people off and it allows people to kind of filibuster a little bit. You see that with some of the questioning and everything like that. And that can play a big part in ultimately why you're eliminated. It's no surprise that CK was last. She would have ended up with the lowest amount of money anyway, in my opinion. I don't think it really would have made a difference whether she was last or first in terms of time, because she was not going to be the person playing the banker at the end. But I thought this was good. And I do think that it adds a fun element where now if you go and play Deal or No Deal Island next season, you have to be thinking about how you're eliminating people from the game. And I don't think that's going to hurt the game. I think that's going to help the game because everybody coming from season 1 to season 2, they were just like, whatever. We know it's going to be a dumb luck, random BS. As long as I'm physical, I'll win this game. This challenge really had nothing to do with physical. So Letty and David didn't gain their advantage there. They gained the advantage by the fact that they were likable.
I could agree with some of that. Of does it have anything to do with physical? I guess it was very interesting seeing like this is such a clear Survivor challenge of the boards with 3 notches and 1 notch, or 2 notches and 4 notches, or 1 notch on the left side and 2 notches on this side, and then that was like, oh, I've seen this happen in Survivor. I guess if you're an NBC only person, you're like, what a new exciting challenge. The monkey fist, it's so close to the word monkey paw. So I don't know how they got away with doing a monkey fist as naming that instead of a cat ball of yarn or something, which it's truly like that makes more sense to me, but I'm not naming these stuff. I thought that was like, look, we're pulling ourselves across on this small sliver. That was interesting. And then the water into the thing is like that being your last thing before you get to the end of your that was the only underwhelming part, really. Like for me, it's like we're ending our physical journey of a lifetime. Like I think one thing that I have heard on reality TV shows for 25 years is the idea of this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And that could be one of two things. That could be the like, I went on a journey whenever I was starving, and that 6-mile hike up a mountain to get my vote taken away was not only emotionally draining, physically draining, but like I'm so depressed now too. Or it could be we had to carry a 500-pound Gila monster across and over and under a thing. I don't know if we're getting that same type of stuff on this of what would any of these contestants say? That is the hardest thing I ever had to do was blank on Deal or No Deal Island. And even the betrayals don't seem like anybody's going to care about this in like 2 weeks from now, because they'll be like, oh, we were just playing a game for 3 weeks in Panama and we got close. And like, I think stakes are something that a lot of execs in the past have been like, what are the stakes? We need to raise the stakes. And I've always been like, do we? And like, it is one of those things where maybe we have pyrotechnics going off whenever you pull the monkey paw across, or like that there's people with squirt gun, like the other 4 people that didn't make it have
squirt guns, Blake.
Have like squirt guns to get
from
you
pyrotechnics to they're all running around with water guns shooting.
Okay. We had time to brainstorm. We're gonna be here for an hour. It's definitely something where I'm like, okay, we're pouring water into buckets, and it's not really visually interesting either. And I thought what was a little weird about this was we're going to mix them up each time. It's going to be a random order of, some of you could see Phillip immediately because Phillip was out for blood today. It felt like Phillip could mess you up from the beginning, and then everyone else could feel bad for you later. Yeah. Or if you get Phillip last, he can be like, I'm going to mess with you, and nobody knows how long it took
Phillip
earlier.
was in control of the cases all the time, right? Like the same people were in control of the cases each time, and the same people were doing the games each time. They were just mixed up in the order that they were, correct?
Right. And so I don't think Phillip really had the ability to like postpone people much longer than 30 seconds of, can you figure out my riddle 3 of, was it you or was it me? Who stabbed people in the back more than you? And you're just like, okay.
I appreciate it. And I know you sent me a text before this where you were like, Phillip's question, that's not going to be good for him. But when I watch it, I actually do think it was a funny idea from Phillip here, because he is putting pressure on the people to decide, do you actually trust me or not? I love the idea of going into this and saying, I'm going to give you the best case. Like, you are going to get the best case if you listen to me. And he knew CK would never listen to him. He knew it. And I think that's so funny, because if you're CK, why would you listen to Phillip? But also, are you thinking that he's trying to use reverse psychology on you? And now you start having the Wallace Shawn conversation from The Princess Bride. But it feels like That's what it felt like to me. I did appreciate where he's saying, "Am I treating you better than you treated me?" Look, he's going for his moment. He's going for his Oscar. He's going for his Emmy. I don't blame him. Do what you got to do. But I sit there and I see what he's saying, and it is funny because by saying I'm going to give everybody the same opportunity to take the best case, and he says to Parvati, we can give her every opportunity and she will still mess it up regarding CK. And then CK messes it up. It's amazing. And David says, I trust you 100%. I'm sorry for what I did. I like when David goes in for the hugs. Phillip doesn't hug back. He like limply puts up one hand, but at first he's just standing there like the kid who's like, I don't want to hug from my grandma. And then you have Parvati, who is fine with David. And David explains himself to Phillip, and Phillip says, well, you know, am I going to treat you better than you treated me? And the answer is yes. So David correctly takes the case. I think we talked about this last week. The issue with this show and the issue with the traders and the issue with NBC right now, come on, NBC, get it together. They're leaving their cliffhangers and it's revealing the game. The cliffhanger here is David's going to win. There is no way David is not going to win. We can all sit down and figure out the math and the discussion of how David's going to win. David is going to win this. David is going to beat Letty, and David is going to be the person who is going to ultimately end up playing the banker at the end of the game. It makes sense. But it was Phillips who's had the greatest impact on this, and we already know the answer to this question. So I don't know why they had to leave it on a cliffhanger, but that's what NBC does. So here we are.
What's crazy is we didn't say a word about Parvati's elimination.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We got to focus. That up. I mean, that was the first. We're
normally
recapping.
We have about 35 people watching right now. Why do you think we have 16? Because Parvati didn't make the finale. So yeah, Parvati's out. But we'll get there.
I want to shout out or shout in the Deal or No Deal Twitter is interesting. I'm wondering how old the person is that's filling this stuff out. There was so many tweets last night. At least 2 or 3 of them were like, how absolutely iconic. And you're like, I need official brand stuff. You give me information. The fans will then themselves determine what is iconic and what is not. You don't get to be like, this is iconic. Like, Seychelle being mad and tricking CK 3 times in 2 minutes. What an iconic slay from her. And it's like, actually, Seychelle got 9th place. And like, okay, good for her to get her upcoming. It's like, was it nice to see all these people come back? I think it is kind of like, I like that there is a jury element, but it truly made it completely like, I know CK is getting last place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here's where we get hypocritical. Here's where we hold different people to different standards. I have a 20-some year relationship with Dr. Will. When he throws the plank out into the ocean, I was like, I wish he did that with 3 or 4 of them. Like, that was amazing. You're fucked. Fuck you. All right, I'm breaking all my cuss word
things. As Blake talks about Dr. Will throwing the plank into the water, I can't stop. I'm just like, man, I've just been hit with absolute snooze fest.
Phil, you don't have. Oh, if Todd Herzog threw a plank into the ocean, you would literally be
because Todd Herzog's not a petty bitch. Todd Herzog wouldn't.
Well, you haven't seen him in 20 years. Maybe he changed a little.
I literally saw him last season. What are you talking about? I've literally
on a show.
He was on my show. He was on
a show where he's trying to win money, and he was scorned by.
How do you know that we weren't trying? He wasn't trying to win money. He was trying to,
Oh my God! Get Will to do the finale.
Here's the other thing: Todd Herzog would have been competing for the win, not being the 7th place finisher because he can't keep himself together. Anyway, keep talking about Dr. Will. I'm gonna go take a nap. I'll see you in a little bit.
This is perfect for the audio only people. Okay, well, who's someone I can talk about that you're not gonna yawn about?
I like how, Blake, any other human being who's ever been born in the history of time, I could do that same thing to you, and you would not get as mad as you are right now.
You just don't know Dr. Will. It's one of those things where it's like, if you never paid attention to the Yankees and somebody's trying to be like Jeter is amazing, and they're like, I just don't know I don't know who Jeter is, and it's like, it's a generational player that like, why is he married to J-Lo? I just don't get it. And you're like,
Is Derek
that's not
Jeter
even
married to J-Lo?
No, it was the other guy.
He never even dated J-Lo. See, I might not know Dr. Will, Blake, but I know you. And I know what your triggers are. And me yawning at you talking about Dr. Will is enough to make you say I'm never doing
If
this.
you're gonna yawn at Dr. Will, you yawned at the whole episode. Then Dr. Will was the cool part.
Yeah, exactly. Who would think such a thing? A Dr. Will stan who's been dying. Look, I do.
What did you like about what Parvati did? Then let's go.
I didn't really like anything about what Parvati did.
I'm going to pass the torch over. You used one of my moves by getting rid of Dixon. I was really excited about that.
Can I just say, I think Parvati actually played too nice here. And I think like Parvati, I understand like where she's at in her life and stuff. She's not the same Black Widow that she was back in the day. But like, I would like to see Parvati be a little bit more villainous here. She wasn't really villainous with anybody. Phillip was more villainous. Dr. Will was more villainous. Seychelles was more villainous. Parvati is the iconic villain of Survivor, female villain. Like she is the iconic one. It's kind of a bummer that she wasn't just like, I hate you all. And, you know, like maybe it's just because of the way the game shaked out, but she was like proud of everybody. I'm like, stop being proud, Parvati. Stop that. Stop.
I mean, and here's one thought process I have about this. Parvati is no longer playing Deal or No Deal Island, but she is currently playing her next game already.
She's already playing Australian Survivor.
Of like, is there anybody on this show that's going to look at me and then I'm going to see them on the beach in a different country soon? Actually, yes, it is. So I can't screw over David. I can't have David think I screwed over anybody else. I need everybody to walk away from this excursion being like, wow, Parvati is more trustworthy and nicer than ever. So I get full reign of whatever I want to do next thing. And I think that's something where when we're in this renaissance, or is it saturation of former players playing more and new games, like, hey, the Deal or No Deal Final 4 and Final 3 are probably less cool because Parvati wants to play another game within 6 months of it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like she could have been meaner to everybody else. I just think at this point, like, what's Parvati's benefit to be nasty, right? And like even Dr. Will, people love Dr. Will once this game's over. Like it feels like the entire cast gets along with him. I know when MG got voted out, she gets knocked out of the game, and then Dr. Will was in her exit interview. Like he walks by in the background. Like I think Dr. Will gets along with everybody or most people on this cast. I think he is likable. He's just such a ham, and he's a cartoon villain. Whereas Parvati, like in her early days, she wasn't really a cartoon villain. Like she was cutthroat. She was really, and I know Dr. Will probably was too, but I feel like Parvati has elected to kind of go in with a different approach to some of these games she is playing now, because this has become a career for her, right? Like this is what her job is at this point. Parvati is playing these games as a way to earn money, the same way that, you know, Brad Pitt would take a role in a movie to get his salary. And I feel like for her, what's the benefit for her to be nasty? There really is none. So it might not be the Parvati we used to see, but like, it's just like Parvati, there is, and like Parvati's never been the type of person who's like, I'm going to throw the piece of wood in the water. Isn't that so silly? She's never been that. Dr. Will seems like that's been his whole MO his entire life. So I'm not surprised that Parvati really didn't do much here once she was out of the game. But, you know, I would have liked to have seen her just like, no, CK, I hate your stinking guts.
And like even Dr. Will has the moment of I guess David went last. But like he had the moment with CK. Like CK is my biggest adversary in this game. It's really annoying. He says to her, CK, I'm choosing not to help you with this water thing. And then she's struggling. She sucks at it. She can tell. He can probably tell that because because Letty went first. He knows that CK is taking longer, and he feels bad about it and goes, CK, I guess I will help you because I don't want to be here all day is probably the subtext in his brain. But he has the moment of like, all right, now that I've screwed you up enough where you're going to lose, I will help you finish this.
Yeah.
Is what happened, where it's like, oh, he's not completely heartless and annoying. And then you like look at Parvati's exit press and it goes, Dr. Will is the most annoying person I've ever played a game with in my entire
Yeah. FPL Bailey will miss Dr. Will on my TV. Only he can do what he did there to David. Yeah, Blake is blessing himself. Sayonara. He's given the salute. Let's talk about Parvati's exit. Let's go back to the top here because there's a couple questions here. James Barber. Parvati's exit was so anticlimactic. I hate Deal or No Deal at the start of the episode. I concur. This is something I talked about last week. I feel like when Danielle went in the Traders, which some people have yelled at me for spoiling other shows on this. If you're watching Deal or No Deal Island live but haven't watched The Traders, I'm sorry, but I didn't know those people existed, so my bad. But like, if Danielle, like when Danielle goes, they do the same thing where they have the cliffhanger, and then Danielle goes, and it does feel anticlimactic because by the time the week has passed, we've already figured out what's going to happen, and we figured it out on this podcast last week where we said if Parvati was going to win, then the cliffhanger, or if it wasn't going to be Parvati playing Deal or No Deal Island, the cliffhanger would have been, Parvati playing, and then does she win or does she lose? Like, we all knew that the cliffhanger was what the cliffhanger was because Parvati was going to go up and she was going to play Deal or No Deal, and she was probably going to lose, and they wanted to make sure that they had her for a whole entire, they could have her for another episode. Now, granted, she was going to be in the challenge portion, blah, blah, blah. But to me, it does feel anticlimactic too. Like, we started off the episode with that, and then we get into a challenge that was much more exciting. And I was like, oh yeah, Parvati's still on my screen. I kind of forgot Parvati was eliminated at the start of this. And it says Parvati had 1.5 million cases on the board. Does she automatically win if those are the last two remaining cases somehow? I enjoyed the final challenge, even though it was obvious CK lost. Did you notice that she had 1.5 million cases on the board? I didn't notice that.
That was this is the first time this has happened, and they did say whenever the first one went, like the first 1.5 million is gone.
So if she, that is a good question. If those are the last two, does she auto win? Does she make a good deal, or is making the deal is that
I think that it would be one of those things where, just like Dixon's last 1.0097% chance of getting the million in his case, it's like we'll cross that bridge. Get it? Excursion. When it comes to it, of like, if she does have the 1.5, we'll have Joe explain it. But I don't think it's worth, because there's no merit to picking the cases that you think are certain spots, making sure you have 2 or 3 of the same number of a case to try and tie the banker. I'm assuming they'd be like, the banker wins all ties. Goodbye.
Or
and then if they like you,
unless your name is Parvati.
Yeah, if they like you, they're like, congrats on tying the banker. You're now the banker for season 3.
Yeah, so we watch Parvati play. She ultimately makes a bad decision, a bad deal. She gets $500,001. She had 1 million in her case or whatever it was, and she ends up getting eliminated. Overall, now that we've seen, go ahead.
Who is the banker, by the way?
Is it just going to be the winner from last season? That's my guess.
Or Meghan Markle. It's like the only two I can think of.
Meghan Markle. Why Meghan Markle?
She was a Deal or No Deal model.
That's right. She was a case girl, right?
And I'm like, who is famous? Like, I think are any of our final 3 or finale people gonna go, Jordan from last season?
Yeah, I feel like Jordan would be a little bit of a letdown because I feel like most people who even watch the show have probably forgotten, right? It's kind of like what you talk about with Big Brother, where it's like Big Brother 1 doesn't really count. Big Brother 2 is really the first season of Big Brother. Like, this is the first season of Deal or No Deal Island, it feels like. It's a totally different show based on a lot of stuff.
Because there was never a woman host of the actual Deal or No Deal franchise in America. Because Howie Mandel, it was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, if you didn't guess Howie Mandel last season.
Yeah, we all knew it was Howie.
Yeah.
Let's see if it says who plays the banker. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. Everything's about season 1. My guess, the banker will be season 1 winner. A lot of people are thinking it's Jordan Fowler. Yeah.
Or maybe it's Parvati the whole time, and she's like, I was never eligible to win. That's why I always.
Maybe it's Amanda Kimmel, and this is them announcing that Amanda Kimmel is going to be on 50. Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what it is.
That was literally, that made me. We need to set up therapy sessions where you just say hypothetical reality TV situations, because that is the most optimistic I have been about my life in the last 5 years. Right there, it was in that
15 seconds of glory. We just watched Blake dance in his chair.
Amanda Kimmel's back. Don't worry. Winners at War had a good end game, and COVID never happened. It's like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah. Imagine. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, here you go. Ferret says, okay, I'm choosing to believe the Amanda Kimmel theory with all my life. There you
Maybe
go.
that's what we do with our, now that we won't have Wednesday episodes in the morning after next week, we could just do hypothetical reality shows with Blake and Phil.
We could just, yeah, like how to make a average thing better. How to make the reveal that Jordan was the banker the entire time better. Amanda Kimmel is the banker, and it's announced she's on 50.
Thanks for advertising your computer,
Yeah.
NBC. Oh wait, you kind of are anyway. Also, we have the moment of Dr. Will says, "All right, you got to tell me now, or I'm not going to give you any help, brother. What show were you on?" And he says, "I'm the golden god of Survivor Australia."
He says, I think he actually says, I'm the king of Australian Survivor.
Okay, and
I
everyone
will say
agrees with
this.
that, right?
I know there's a lot of people who don't love David from the Australian Survivor side of things. I think David's tremendous at Survivor. I think his first season was great, with him and Luke and everything, and I think he was great his second season. And I think his All Stars win is one of the most impressive All Stars wins of any Survivor version, probably with the exception of Tony's and Winners at War, because he had a huge target on his back entering that game. And he won anyway. So I have no problem with him saying that he's the best Australian Survivor player. I mean, I've also been binge watching that show so much. Right now, I've been binge watching BVB, Brains vs. Brawn 1 and
BVB, DVD,
Brains vs.
AUS,
Brawn 2 at the same time. And I feel like my brain can't handle it anymore of like, okay, these are the people playing this one. These are the people. The fact that McKenna and I aren't just confusing people from the seasons is remarkable.
How do you not have an Australian accent after watching it for a while too?
Because I'm also watching Deal or No Deal Island and The Traders and US Survivor and
Talking
covering
to
March
people in
Madness this
America.
week where there's no Australians. So
Phil, you need to take a break.
although
man.
Aniwa Tate Jones, everybody. Aniwa Tate Jones. I'm telling you, Aniwa Tate Jones. He's not Australian, he's New Zealander. But there you go. That's all you need to know for your bracket when you're filling it out. Aniwa Tate Jones.
Okay, well, this is more Deal or No Deal Island. So what else happened here? I thought the other thing that was kind of weird, just to talk about it, we had the 4 and the 5 paired together with Parvati and Phillip.
Uh-huh.
But then we put Seychelles with Dixon, right? Yeah, Seychelles with Dixon,
yeah,
and Lushell with Dr. Will. So they mixed up the order on those.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, okay, it's going to be pairs. I don't know if they were randomly, like, part of this is like I can see the randomness because they're moving each time. But then I was like, why did these certain people get paired up? And I wonder if it was like, we don't want 2 of the family to be randomly paired together, and we don't want 2 anti people to be paired together of like, just, I don't know if there could be a thing where as you're putting the bridge together, I'm just throwing your next piece into the ocean every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's something where, let's talk about cruelty or like, or deviousness or villainous. Like, the fact that only one plank hit the water, I think is socially acceptable, and it's a funny joke, and David ends up getting the fastest time anyway. If somebody had sat there and been like, screw you, random person out of the 3, I'm throwing your bridge puzzle piece out every single time. Like, it's almost better that Will did it at the end of the process, so nobody could be like, because like Will is obviously not going to ask producers, hey, can I throw this in the ocean?
Yeah.
He's just going to do it. And maybe some first time players would be like, I want to be invited back. Like, I don't want to ruin my turn. But like, if somebody had sat there and thrown every single piece as they needed it, like, oh, this is the next one, chunk, and waited for them to swim back and then throw the next one out, chunk, and like that person would be like, I don't know if you would strangle
Can you
them
then like push that person in the water?
Yeah,
but
like I feel like that's the thought process of like some actual villainous thing. Like what I see Dr. Will doing, that's just a funny joke of like, is that villainous at all? Like, it's just hilarious.
It is funny. I mean, even David laughed at it. And how far did David have to run? I mean, Dr. Will, you're God. He can't really throw. I mean, that's something I learned there, you know.
CK stated in her exit interview that
Yeah, this is from Michelle
Parvati
Goria.
screwed her. Hey, CK, welcome to real life. Like,
And then she had Phillip's highest case. Finish the sentence. She had Phillip's highest case, and then Parv gave her a wink, and she changed her case, thinking Parv was trying to help her.
not
My
Parv
thing
giving
is,
me a wink.
we won't even know though because we never actually saw what was in CK's cases.
Yeah,
She just eliminated off the bat, so it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like, welcome to real life. Like, you got last place. I keep forgetting to mention this. If you're going to go on Deal or No Deal Island, I think if you want to be on a reality show, apply to Deal or No Deal Island. I think it's the least high stakes. You get, apparently they're about to bring everybody back for the finale to watch David play, if we're assuming it's David, or it could be Letty, who knows. But
Okay, well, let me ask you, who do you think is going to be?
I saw Storm in the freaking promo. So like, if you want to be on a reality show, why not do Deal or No Deal Island? Whether you get last place or not, they're going to keep you in Panama for 3 weeks. You get to hang out with some of your favorite reality stars as they beat you. And then you get to like drink pina coladas the whole time. You not starve. And it didn't look like the bug situation was too bad. And there'll be somebody hot there that you can flirt with. Like, why wouldn't you apply for Deal or No Deal Island if you're 25 to 35 and able-bodied right now?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I said last year I was going to apply to Deal or No Deal Island. I should probably apply to season 3, right?
Who would you have replaced on this season? Luke?
Yeah, probably.
You'd be first boot right away?
Probably Storm. I kind of look just like him.
Oh my god.
I did.
Michelle was pointless this whole episode. I could have taken her spot. That's crazy.
You don't think that's real? That's from FPL Bailey. You got to make sure you announce when it's coming from somebody else and not you. So Lachelle's not like, man, this Blake guy's a piece of shit.
Lachelle watches the show? Holy crap,
I have no idea.
dude. The 28 people watching are everybody on production at Deal or No Deal.
It's literally the cast and the people who had to film it. All right, let's talk about this. We're going into next week. Are we about to watch 45 minutes of David just playing Deal or No Deal or Letty? First of all, let's answer that. Is there any chance Letty is beating David here?
I think that's what's frustrating is it comes down to cases, which is it's not arbitrary. There was strategy in this, but I haven't sat down and done the math. I think what's funny about math is when the numbers are 7 digits long, it's like almost impossible. If the cases where I have a 5, a 3, and a 1, it'd be so easy for the audience to be like, that we got the 5 case from Phillip, but he gave David the 1 case. So there's 4 points to make up here. But whenever it's 1.7, 1.8, and 1.5, I'm like, I don't know what, like, one of these people is going to have an average case of 1.725, and the other one's going to have an average case of 1.700, and I'm going to go, oh, shit.
Yeah, like, because it was pretty spelled out for us. Like, if David gets 1.8 million, he survives.
Right. And, like, I think what's funny is, yes, we want that it's one final case to go into the mix, or it gets added to the big case at the end. Like there was a larger prize thing at the end, and I guess Parvati got 500,000 for the case. Thank you, Parvati. But Parvati's let's focus. Yeah, I don't know if I can. There's a lot of as stuff goes in and out of my brain. I don't care who's in the final one. I really don't, because like, it doesn't feel like they have played a tremendous game to get there. It's so weird. I would never say that about a finale for most reality shows. Like, obviously, there's some people that get 0 votes in the end of Survivor. There's some people that get dragged to the end of the circle just because they have a really good personality and they have no shot at winning. There's other things like this, like Big Brother has people that go at 3 and 2 that are bad sometimes, and there's a clear winner after 1. But like, it feels like this game was like the most low stakes thing, where it was like, who could run faster half the time? And then who's smart enough to ask somebody, don't put me in the banker spot? Like why did Parvati ask to be put in the banker? She wants full control. It's like, let somebody else step on the landmine, not like, it's time to put my hair up and get to work here. And you're like, obviously shouldn't say that, but some other people have said that when it comes to their Deal or No Deal times. And you're like, that has worked for some of y'all, but it's a complete mess for others. So like, who do I hope wins? I guess David, but I haven't been a fan of him the whole time. But it's not like Letty is doing something where I'm like, Letty has to win.
It feels like it's been David's story the entire time, though. That's what I will say. It feels like it's been the story of the family and David and Parvati and David together. And David's the one who had to take up Phillip. So will he be redeemed for taking out Phillip? And it seems like the answer is yes. Because I mean, Phillip has talked about like, I'm gonna blow up at this thing, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like we really saw Phillip that angry as we could have seen him here. I feel
mean,
like
the
he was
Harriet
probably
Tubman thing is the peak of his
well, that
anger.
was amazing. Yes, but I'm saying at this actual challenge, I don't think he was probably shown to be as angry as he was because I ultimately think he's going to side with David. Maybe Letty gets it. Maybe I'm looking too much into the edit, but I just know based on how last season was, Letty is definitely a better edited player right now than Jordan was. But I do believe that this has been David's story all season long. And I feel like we're getting closure on his stories. Like, what do you know about Letty? Well, we found out tonight that she's going to move back in with her parents. She's not doing well financially. We found that out in episode 11. I feel like we would have found that out in episode 6, 7, 8, 4. Like, we would have heard all this before if she was ultimately going to win. Because what do we hear from CK? We hear tonight, oh, I want to do this so me and my wife can start our own family. Great. That's the first time we've heard that. Like, if she was going to win, we would have heard that earlier. So I think this is David's story. I think David's going to end up playing the banker. Some people we have FPL Bailey here. Ty. I'm thinking Ty because how in the world will one game of Dondi last over 30 minutes? I mean, that's my question because they play with fewer cases and stuff. I mean, what is this episode going to be? We are going to find out that David or Letty win right away. Then for 40 minutes, are we just going Deal or No Deal Island? Are we just watching old school Deal or No Deal Island on a Thursday night at 8?
They don't add 13, 14, and 15, 16th case.
They might.
They don't add 4 more cases.
There might be. I mean, there might be.
I think originally it was 16 or 20. Yeah. So, here's what I think is going to happen. I didn't watch the finale, but it's clearly a different finale than last time. I think they will be like, all right, we have our winner. And like, that's crazy. And like 10 minutes of like, say goodbye to the loser. Did you ever think you'd be here? Oh my God, I'm clearly the winner. And this is the only show where you don't know how much money you're going to win until you're crowned the winner. And now let's see. And then we're explaining that. And now here's the final temple or whatever we're calling it. And here's all the people that came back. And let's see Luke. And then Luke goes, oh my God, David, you won. That's so amazing. Here's Rock. Oh, Rock. Sydney goes, I knew I wanted to stick with you, but you made it anyway. I'm so proud of you, or whatever. Everyone has their like 5-second stuff. Everyone sit down. Thanks you. I'm Joe Manganiello. Welcome to this shit. That's 10 minutes. And like, I think they'll do, here's a video of your family from back home.
We're going to get into who the banker is.
It's going to be the worst episode of the season by far.
It's going to be
I never said it was going to be good.
Reality TV, right?
It's going to be so bad. But I think that's something where, do you love reality TV? I would say I love reality TV. It is. I literally was at trivia last night and they kept asking about civil rights activists and playwrights. And then the bonus round was about the Treaty of Versailles. And I was like, can we ask some fucking questions about TV or something? Like, come on. I don't come to trivia to think about the history and how.
Oh, your mic. That's all right. You're okay. You're okay. That was Phillip coming in to cut off Blake's microphone to be like, this guy has said enough. No, I get what you're saying. I mean, I host a trivia every Tuesday night, and anytime I get like a dark, serious question, like, why are we asking a question about like Nazi occupation in World War II right now? Like, why are we asking questions about like which countries are starving the most? Like, we don't need to be doing like, keep it fun, keep it light. And if people come to trivia and can't answer basic questions about some of this stuff, that's on them. Blake is trying to figure out his microphone. Don't know what happened to the poor lad over there. You're missing a lot of behind the scenes fun. It is pure chaos going on as he tries to maneuver this cord in the mic. Like, I think this was a much better episode than the penultimate episode of season 1. I'm curious what I'm going to think of the season finale. It's probably going to be better than last season's. Last season's season finale wasn't very good, but I don't know. We'll have to see ultimately what ends up taking place. Blake, it looks like you have yourself muted. Let's hear it. Nope, can't hear you at all. All right. So I feel like it is this is my favorite version of Blake. I feel like either way, it's just going to end up being it's going to be better than last season. However, last season at least had the challenge at the beginning of the episode. I'm worried with this one, like what is going to be the other thing that fills time? So that's where I stand on that. I'll let Blake come in and say goodbye, but we're going to wrap this up anyway. So like this video and subscribe to the channel. Yes, I agree with you, FPL Bailey. This season is already way better than season 1, regardless of winner here. I totally agree with that.
Hello?
Yeah, he's back. He did it. I'm literally wrapping this up. I'm ready to be done.
Oh, we had so much to talk about. It was so embarrassing. That's my bad.
No, it's fine. All right, that's what we're going to do then. So thank you for listening. Will and I will be back tonight after Survivor. We will be talking recap of episode number 4 tomorrow.
There's one thing I want to say real quick.
All right, hurry up and say it because we got to figure out when we're doing Deal or No Deal Island while March Madness is on. I ain't paying attention to anything you say tomorrow afternoon.
That's digging deeper. One thing I want to say, psychopath playing the final game. That's interesting, James Barber. One thing I want to say, in Big Brother for 15 years, it doesn't really show up on Survivor. Survivor, they're always hustling. But it happened last night. If you go on a reality show, I promise you, the difference between winning and losing sometimes is if you are walking and you are running. Yeah. And it felt like, hey, how's it going, Phil? How you been, brother? Like, sorry you went home. We don't have time for any of that. You walk up and you go, Phil, we're brothers, right? In this game, we were bros. So tell me your best case. I'm going to believe you wholeheartedly. I got to get to this puzzle instead of anything else. And it didn't seem like anybody, we're hugging, and like, it's 4 minutes of difference or 2 minutes of difference. Hey, I know you guys hate me. I got to throw this monkey paw with you. What's the case you're giving me? I'm trusting you wholeheartedly. I got to get the time thing down. And there's so many times in Big Brother, because this was a timed competition that people did not see how well other people were doing. Yeah. But what was crazy about this is the 6 people each had a clock they know how bad the first 2 went. So they could, I'm going to be more ruthless for the third person because we weren't ruthless for the first 2, and you could gauge it and time it. So in Big Brother, when they do a timed competition where it's blind and nobody can see each other, some people literally beat other people by like 4 minutes. And they'll be like, how did you do that so fast? And if you go back and watch it, they're like walking to the buzzer. Yeah. Hit the buzzer. And the other person is just running. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Again, the stakes of that final challenge are not there from the actual production of the show. And then it felt like the stakes were also not there from the contestants of like, I gotta go. Like, sorry, bud. And I don't know if that's left on the editing room floor. It seemed like if it was only 7 minutes of content for David, it was like, okay, you got most of it because you saw 7 minutes of it in real time. But that's just something that's always in my head is like, are you guys, this is the finale. You gotta run, brother. Like these people aren't gonna get there. Okay, that's all I had to say. It's called hustle, is what I say in my culture.
Yeah, that's a good word. All right, let's throw this last thing up. My kitten is a grandmaster. It all depends on what Phillip did. He said that he didn't want Parvati to win because she already won Survivor. Now that he knows David won Survivor Australia, does he give him a low case? That is the question that'll be answered at the beginning of next episode. So,
is that a fun question,
but that is the question that's going to be answered. I don't know if it's fun, but that's what's going to be answered. All right, I gotta go. We're out of here.
Oh,
like the video, subscribe to the channel, patreon.com.
I can talk about this for another 20 minutes, you guys. I promise.
We will see you tomorrow, probably around 5 o'clock. Blake and I will be live with Digging Deeper, but we have to figure that out. Gonzaga versus Georgia at 4:35. It's looking like we might have to go after that game. All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.